Tired. That's okay. I'm Amy Imhoff. This is the Creating Your Career in Space panel. We're going to have my panelists introduce themselves, and we're going to have a great chat. So, I welcome questions. So, if we're saying something and you're unclear and you want a clarification, please don't be afraid to raise your hand. And we're going to start. So, I'm going to let Inara kick it off. We all should know Inara by now. Executive Director.
Yay!
Tell everybody a little bit about what you're currently doing in your career in space.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the president of the Multiplanetary Society and the executive director of Days in Space. I also help co-run about 30 different space organizations. And some of my primary roles are building teams, helping organizations connect with the public, and especially helping the space industry connect with the public, and also what I call the established buildings. So these are things like entertainment, art, fashion, beauty, music. These places where we don't have to really convince people that they should be part of it, they're already there. And I want to put space in the middle of all of those because I don't really believe in this dichotomy of like space versus anything else. I think it's really about everything else that we're doing already. So my role is to ensure that space gets out of its bubble and that people have access to that.
Awesome. Thank you, Nora. Now we have Carissa Winters, who I've only just met this weekend, but utterly fabulous. Please tell everybody what you do.
Hi everybody, I'm Carissa Winters. So I'm a multifaceted entrepreneur. I do a lot of different things. So I do music, and a lot of it has been space themed, and it all happened because I started hosting space events. I started getting involved with different organizations and working about building communities for the future of space, but also I own a film festival, and one of our verticals that we're doing is actually about film and space and TV and all of that, and giving people the opportunity to show things in the way that they want to show it to the world. And so I'm always for the underdogs and people that are, fighting for rights. So I do a lot of work in that world of, for space and everything in between. I also have an art gallery, and we have a lot of exhibits, doing with space and all of that. And so it's really about educating people and aligning with people in a way that they can understand. And then I run this thing in my community, Victoria, Texas, called Innovation Collective. And because I've been doing all of this work in the world of space and getting out there, we added the vertical of space. And my hope is for smaller communities that may not be recognized to have the opportunity to have careers in space and to grow, to have better paying jobs. We actually have an airport there with one of the longest runways, and there are astronauts that fly their T-10 jets for training into our airport. And so I actually want to start using that, for more like autonomous vehicles and launching drones and different things into space, and also creating better careers. So that's kind of the thing that we're looking for, because we have support as well. So it's about starting in, music, art, film, all of that, which is an easy kind of entry point for a lot of people to learn about space and to have it resonate with them, and also work with organizations to help uplift them, but also to get the better paying job. So it's a little bit of everything, and it's all connected. So, and I'm seeing it happen. It's been really neat to see all these things start to connect together like a spider web and work together. And it takes everybody working in harmony and simultaneously for this. So thank you to everybody here, because you're all kind of pushing it forward. So appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Now we have Michelle. Michelle, I just met you 2 minutes ago, so please tell everyone what you do, including me. I did look you up before the panel. I am prepared.
Yeah, I'm not worthy. I'm just a lawyer. I'm a space lawyer. My name is Michelle Hamlin. I teach space law at the University of Mississippi. We're one of 2 programs in the country that offers an advanced degree in space law, and we are the only ABA accredited school in the country that has a JD concentration in air and space law. So one of my colleagues, Stephen Freeland from Australia, wrote a fascinating article that said, 10 years from now, as a lawyer, if you don't know space law, you will be blanked on the word. You will not be obsolete. Thank you.
There we go.
And you will be doing a disservice to your client, because space is such an integral part of our lives, and that integration is just going to grow and grow and grow. And so today we don't really think about how much space affects us, but in fact, everything that we do is affected by space, and we're going to start seeing a lot of space imagery used in court cases, and we need to really educate people and raise awareness about that. I'm also the co-founder of an organization called Following Time, which is the only organization in the world that's focused on protecting human heritage in outer space, so really uniting the concepts of history and the future in a very important way. As far as what we do in terms of education, I am very, very passionate about diversity of the voices that we hear, and that's diversity in generations as well. And in space law in particular, we have our granddaddies and grandmas, and they are the word, and nobody else percolates up. And so what I do is make sure that those younger voices are being heard. I bring as many students as I can to conferences, to the United Nations when we go. I'm a program observer to the United Nations, and I just think it's really important because I don't think I'm going to make it to space. So it's a lot of fun for me to think about and to build this foundation of what governance will look like in space. But we really need to hear from and learn from the kids that are actually going to be living there.
Great, thank you. Now we have Dr. Chance Glenn from the University of Houston, also Victoria, so you guys are in a similar geographic area. So tell everybody a little bit about what you've been working on and what your career path in space has been.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chance Glenn. I'm a professor as well as what's called a provost. Nobody knows what that is. I'll just say the vice
It was
president.
one of the rooms or one of the offices I never wanted to find myself in.
Now I know why.
Yeah.
But no, I'm the vice president of academic affairs at the University of Houston in Victoria. But also, I'm doing research in an area that really was just drawn to, and that is trying to figure out how to experimentally distort space-time. Of course, we call it warp drive, all that, but you got to start with trying to figure out how to distort space-time in a controllable and consistent manner. And I'm concocting some experiments that are going on as we speak. I actually invite you to follow me on Twitter at, what is it, Professor_Glenn. Just search on Chance Glenn.
We'll actually make sure that you're listed in all of our
Yes,
post
at the
marketing.
end, I'll let everyone know where to find
Okay.
everybody.
Because I'll be, posting updates in real time about how experiments are going and, if the eureka moment actually happens. So I'm excited about that. But what I'm also excited about, and this particular event this weekend, really high regards for it. What has come to my mind is that the science fiction and this whole fantasy and entertainment industry side of things is the key to the inspiration of young people to go into the areas like science and technology, engineering, mathematics. It's a tremendous challenge that we have. The reason being is that just by nature of the baby boom, that means that there's a lot of people at a particular age range that are now retiring and doing other things, leaving great gaps in our industries. And one of the biggest ones is in science and STEM, which was already not a very diversely represented field and area to begin with. Now, how do we inspire young people to go into this, just like I was inspired? I was inspired by the OG, original Star Trek, Mr. Spock. That was my guy. That's what, drew me into all of this. But it was an idea about seeing a world that we could have, we could build, we could be a part of, we can help bring into reality. And it's going to take the knowledge to do it, but the inspiration to get us there. And this is where these worlds intersect and connect. So I want to be more involved in what it takes to make that kind of thing happen with all of you. So that's the point you were making about, it's about everything and everybody figuring out how to do this thing together. The last thing I'll say, I want to give props to the great connector, Carissa Winter. She's underselling herself how much she knows people, able to make connections and walk into the halls where you wouldn't even expect and make connections and bring people together. It's her superpower, I say, and I appreciate that. I wouldn't be at this place or some of the other things we've done without her connection, so thank you for that. And I look forward to this conversation and an ongoing conversation. And I have a podcast I'm doing called Ask Dr. Chance. So you can send in science-related questions. I'll try to answer them, and we have a good time talking about this kind of stuff.
Thank you. So as far as what I do a couple things. Like everybody here, I wear a lot of hats. Right now, I am half-time at Explore Mars. We are a small nonprofit that's partially funded by NASA. I am the director of partnerships and outreach. So like Carissa, I am very much into the making connections and networking. And I started doing that because I have been doing Star Trek conventions for a decade, and for the last 5 years, I have been Kate Mulgrews' media director. So I've met so many fabulous people in STEM, especially women in STEM, through my work with Kate. We have women coming up to her. You know, I mean, I'm sure if you've seen her at a convention, you've seen how long her lines are. Women coming up saying, you know, I'm a flight engineer at NASA because of Captain Janeway. I'm a captain in the Navy because of you. You know, I have my degree in astrophysics because of the inspiration that I saw. And then one of the first things I did for Kate was she surprised Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at her last rally before she was elected. And I had seen that AOC had tweeted and said something funny like, someone had of course, you know, criticized her, said she was being fake, and she said, oh, that's right, well, my real identity is Captain Catherine Janeway of the USS Voyager. And I was like, we have a Trekkie in our midst. So I got in touch with her campaign, and we were able to surprise her, and she was, of course, I was blown away the fact that Kate was even there. And that has happened with, I've noticed a Janeway effect in politics and in leadership roles, you know, whether it's a local politics, whether it's within your career, that these examples that not just Kate and Captain Janeway, but Major Kira and Dax and all, you know, the ladies in Next Generation, especially we've seen with Picard coming back and Dr. Crusher taking a more robust role and showing her leadership skills. These are things that we didn't necessarily see as women growing up in the 90s, and these roles were studied. The Dina Davis Institute for Gender and Media did a study on the Scully effect, which if you'd watched X-Files in the 90s, it really led to women being more involved in law enforcement, forensic pathology, medicine in general, thinking, oh, I could actually be an FBI agent. You know, I can go into this career. This is not just for guys. So that has been studied in terms of her effect. But I really think the Janeway effect is more of a leadership in politics role, not just AOC, but Stacey Abrams. When we did the Trek the Vote for Biden, Pete Buttigieg and Cory Booker, and you know, all these political luminaries are huge Trek fans. So I'm seeing now that I've moved into the space industry, thanks to Nara, I'm really seeing how we can bridge the gap between the fandom and getting excited about everything that's happening in space. Whether that's Artemis and finally putting a woman on the moon and a person of color on the moon. Star Trek and NASA have a long history. Nichelle Nichols recruited for NASA in the 70s, and she looked around and said, I don't see any of my people here. I don't see any women. I don't see any people of color. And she helped recruit Mae Jemison and other people into NASA, and we really have increased that representation so much since then. So when I look at creating a path in space, like Dr. Glenn said, we need to diversify it, we need to bring in different voices, you know, not just as I think you said yesterday, we created a generation of gods, you know, the Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, you know, they're like, here we are standing in front of our Corvettes, we're super cool, we're jet pilots, but it was very much you have to have all the degrees and you have to have all the accolades from, you know, the military service and things like that to be able to go to space, and that's not true anymore. And I wanted the panelists here to talk a little bit about how they think, you know, if you don't have those degrees, if you don't have that like PhD in STEM, which I'm sure a lot of you in here are not in those kind of fields, and you know have your multiple doctorates and all of these things that so many wonderful people that I've been meeting have, how can you still be part of space? I mean, I do marketing. I do digital content marketing and networking. So, but those are skills that this industry needs, and I've noticed that there's a gap in these skills that hopefully the people up here are all trying to bridge. So I wanted to hand it over to some of you guys and hear what you had to say about creating that path in space for people who don't necessarily have those super awesome degrees. I see you. Why don't I know what you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I got started in space in a very different way. And I grew up in foster homes, 12 different foster homes. And, shifting from home to home to home, there was always discontinuities. There was nothing that really stabilized me. Different cultures, different races, different religions, different household structures. And so it was a lot of chaos. And one of the habits I formed over the years was the first night at any foster home, I'd go outside and I'd look up at the sky and I'd see the stars and I would realize everything is still, there's something there that's still continuity for me. And that was kind of my first real love of space, was this, you're always there for me. It's always going to be there. It's this continuity. I moved to another home, maybe another town, but that's still there, so I still have something to attach myself to. And then I found, I lived in a very small town. I didn't really have, there was no television. I grew up without electricity in most of these homes. It was solar power in the middle of the woods. And so I got this box of National Geographics. And it was everything from 1963 to like 1990. And I poured through it and I saw colors and vibrancy and cultures and moon landings and all these crazy things going on. And I realized, oh my God, I'm not in a bubble I can't get out of. There's all this potential. And it was my first real experience of being able to see the possibility allows you to go after it. And so I was hungry. I was so hungry for all of this. And so I read everything I could. And I got a copy, interlibrary loaned, as many books as I could. And I got The High Frontier by Gerard K. O'Neill. And it blew my mind. And I'm like, I want to be part of this. I took every science and math class I could. And I was a very good student, National Honor Society, and straight A's. And at 16, I got outed for being gay. And they decided, because of all the death threats from parents, teachers, and students, that for my own good, I had to be moved outside of town to a school for delinquents. So it was 18 kids with a parole officer, and it was my first real example of inclusion means you can be here if you don't know who you are. So it was this shock to my system because I was always terrified. I grew up in a Mormon town where they would say things like,